All right, 3 o'clock. If you missed the news of the day, Michigan State, NBC has picked up the game. It's going to be 7:30 at night. We talked about it. You can rewind to that. Also, a hell of a song to start the day. I wanted to bring this up. It is Big Ten Media Day. Harbaugh tomorrow, Mel Tucker today. And shout out to Cookies and Gator. I thought the conversation was interesting. And it should be. I mean, Cookies ripped it off of us, off of our show sheet, but I digress. The point is, what is acceptable this fall for Mel Tucker? Look, we've spent a lot of time with Blake Corum's comments and Michigan football. And look, we know they're going to be good. They're going to be real good. I mean, the bottom of that team, the absolute bottom, would be 9-3. And it would be a bitter disappointment. The top could be an undefeated season. So there hasn't been a lot to talk about with Michigan State, but now we're approaching it. Camp is opening. Mel Tucker's at the podium. And I got to be honest with you, I've seen the articles and I've largely ignored them regarding the hot seat and da-da-da-da-da, because I don't think these national writers really have a good grip on what's going on in East Lansing. I don't think they have a good grip on the program. I just think it's an intern, garbage in, garbage out. But when we start talking about this topic now, this is different. This is about what is acceptable this fall. Because acceptable means if you don't attain it, there has to be a cost to it. And that cost would be one of the warmer seats in the conference in 24 if you don't attain X. So now you get to a discussion of subjective, individual, or if you want to make this broad-based program-wide deal, go for it. What is acceptable this fall for Mel Tucker? Because I know in my mind what it is for me. And I take into account situationally where they're at. I take into account a level of realism. I take into account they're in the hardest division in college football. But I still have a number in mind. But I want to know from the people, because listening to Cookies, he was ranting and raving, and it was entertaining. Gator just would not give in. Gator was just giving a lot of runway. Are there fans like that? Probably. But I want to know where Rico is, David, Kenny. I mean, tell me, people, for all the conversation about Mel Tucker, COVID year is COVID. You do what you want with it. Right. You know, they had 2 top 25 wins, one problem. Those are only 2 games they won. 11, I mean, it was COVID. It made no sense. 11-win season in 21, top of the charts, win over Michigan, really nice year. Last year, total dog bleep.
Bottom fell out.
5-7, and honestly, it was a low-quality 5-7, if that makes any sense.
Mike, it was very low quality because earlier today, before Media Day started, they did the BTN in 60. And you forgot how frustrating last season was. It was the game, it was homecoming where they beat Wisconsin. But that game was so frustrating of all the stupid penalties. And Wisconsin has 3rd and 89, and they just picked up 90 yards. First down. It's like, wow.
Oh, it was horrible.
Bad.
Horrible. So the question is, what is acceptable this fall for Michigan State football? Now, I don't want to poison the jury. I want to let Rico go first. David, Kenny, I'll tell you straight away where I'm at, because if they don't attain what I believe is acceptable, I'll be the first one to tell you he's coaching for his job in 24. Mm-hmm. So go ahead. Let me hear it. Lay it out in 248-539-9797.
Mike, I would say to me acceptable for this upcoming season to bounce back from the 5-7, acceptable is 8-4. 8-4 means you're beating the teams that you should beat, and you're winning the 50-50 games that you have on your schedule, like the Minnesotas and the Marylands and the Iowas. And it means you probably end up losing the Big Four, which is Washington, Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. Now, that's acceptable. That's not what I want. I'd rather see them at least go and win 9 games, meaning you beat a team you were not supposed to beat, because I think that's how you get off the hot seat. Just beating the teams you're supposed to win, it's cool. It's okay.
Yeah, not when you're one of the highest paid coaches in college football.
You get to kick the can. But I feel like you got to win one of those games you're not supposed to win. Whether it's Washington at night, whether it's Michigan at night, whether it's going and beating Penn State at Ford Field. Lord, I'm not even going to count the Ohio State game because I just don't think that that's being realistic.
No.
But acceptable is 8. What I want to see is at least 9.
David, now leave your hatred alone and try to put the shoe on the other foot.
Oh, no, I'm good.
What is acceptable for Mel Tucker to where you'd go, okay, back on track, no hot seat nonsense. I feel like it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm going to say 8 games. I'm going to say 8 games. On paper, from what I see, there are only 2 games on paper that I say you cannot for sure win. That would be Ohio State and Penn State. So everything else is up in the air where I say 6 guaranteed wins in my mind. So I'm going to be fair, and I'm going to say right in the middle at 8 wins is acceptable for me.
Kenny Cott, SEC ambassador, Georgia superfan, purveyor of all things college football.
And thank you for participating in this.
Oh, yes,
fight.
Of course. Considering where you came from, and I agree with David, we were kind of doing the math back here of games that you can win, games that you should win, and games that there's no shot. We both agreed Ohio State, Penn State, probably not. Michigan, at night, at home, gives you a chance for upset special there. Sure. I think you need 8 wins. I agree.
And let me frame it this way. 248-539-9797. Very straightforward about it. What I get tired of, not any of you personally, this is not at your opinions. I'm saying in general, I get so tired of coaches getting credit for winning the games they're supposed to win. Your merit as a coach is how many of the games that you're not supposed to win do you steal from the fire?
That was the D'Antonio special.
Right. That's the caliber. That's what makes you a great coach. I don't give bonus points. When I look at college football, great example. So take state schedule. CMU and Richmond to start the year. I'm sorry, you don't get credit for winning those games. All those are avoiding disaster. But you know what I don't like? I don't like when state fans or media go, well, you're going to Iowa, or, well, you're going to Minnesota, and those are losses. If that's where the program is, then Mel Tucker's not doing his job. So for me, I came into this having no belief that we were going to agree on this, but I'm right with you that I'm not comfortable. See, fans are going to get upset when I say this. I'm not comfortable just saying, well, Washington, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, all 4 are losses. Well, then what are we paying for? Now, in one sense, I say I understand he is building. I know what he inherited. And the idiotic D'Antonio loyalists who are usually over the age of 80 don't want to cop to it. Mark submarine that program. So understand, we have COVID. I've been told it doesn't count. You do what you want with it. The point I'm making is 21 was his first real season. You had an 11-2. 22 was a dumpster fire at 5-7, and it was worse than that. I would argue the team was much closer to being 4-8 than being 6-6, 7-5. It was not high quality.
If he just cuts back to the middle.
I know. So here's where we're at. This is a year where now we always use the phrase. We talked about Harbaugh in his early years. What is he getting paid to do? He's paid to beat Ohio State. He's paid to beat Michigan State. By your third full year, I don't want to hear about the sins of the previous administration. Mm-hmm. You have to stand on your own 2 feet. Now, no one is saying MSU should challenge to go to Indy. No one. They're not ready for that. But you're going to see Mel Tucker's players, the guys that he brought here. And Mel Tucker's got a very famous phrase that I think ultimately is, it's even worse than keep chopping. If you can't recruit to Michigan State, you can't recruit. Well, I got news, boss man. We're putting that to the test this fall because you're about to see a damn near exclusively a Mel Tucker product. Mm-hmm. So what I need to see now, look, if they come home at 7-5 and not 8-4, but they're in games. You know what I can't abide anymore? I can't abide 52-3 at the end of the first quarter to Ohio State. I may have my grievances with what Mark ended up doing to that program, but I never watched a game where we took the field and felt like, well, we don't even belong here.
You don't even want to watch the game.
Right.
It's that bad.
That has to stop. Just like the Minnesota game last year. Just like the Maryland game last year. Just like, go 2 years back, the Ohio State game. Rico was at Raising Cane's at the end of the first quarter in Columbus. I begged you not to go. The point I'm making is there has to be a standard. You want to invoke the contract? Do it. But do it with merit.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are.
And I'll say this. This is the reason why I said you need to win one of those 4 games. Mike, 3 of them at home or the Detroit area at night.
Ohio
so you
State's
get
the
night
only
atmosphere.
Game. Ohio State's the only game I go, we have a 0% chance of winning. It would be a bigger upset this year than the 1998 Nick Saban win down there.
And really, my expectations for this team, kind of like 2 years ago when they went down to Miami, and it let me know what type of team this was going to be, is the Washington game, week 3, where it's the Rose Bowl 10-year reunion. It's going to be start at 5 o'clock at night. Like, everything is leading towards you competing in this game.
That's right.
And trying to win this game.
There's the word. Compete.
Right.
Stop showing your ass.
Right. You don't want to fall down to Washington 21-0 like you did last year.
So here it is. It's open to, I don't care what team you root for. I want to know what is acceptable. Mel Tucker, media day-to-day, talked about how much better along the front 7 they're going to be. Talked about, look, if you are in the, where I don't agree with Gator is the idea that they go 5-7 again and somehow it is anything other than code red and he's one of the 3 or 4 hottest hot seat coaches in America in 24. I'm sorry. At a certain point, this is where I agree with Cookies. The money matters in what we expect of you. And I hold Mel Tucker to the same standard I held Harbaugh. Now, they have different mission statements. When Harbaugh came to Michigan, we talked about 2 things. Beat Ohio State and win the national title. His first 5 years, he wasn't getting that done. Now, he was winning games. They had the one disaster of 8-5. But he wasn't getting it done, and it almost cost him his job. And they took money from him. Mm-hmm. For Mel Tucker, it begins now. Now this fall is when I'll listen about the contract. Because if they go out and it looks like a poorly put together team with bad assistant coaches, looking at Jay Johnson, looking at Hazelton.
Yeah, if it looks like you didn't prepare at all for Washington and it's just wash, rinse, repeat.
Right. Having the 130th ranked defense. No, not acceptable.
Can't get off the field on 3rd and 16.
And what I also don't want to hear, and I read this in a piece the other day, while we think the Spartans will be better, we don't know if it translates to wins. Wow. That's not how life works. That's not how it works. Oh, this radio host was trying harder, but it doesn't result in ratings. Fired. This is a results business. So I want to know where you're at. I happen to agree with Rico. 8 wins. If you disagree, come to the table. Tell us. And remember what 8 wins really means. That when we file away Rutgers, Richmond, and CMU, it means you went 5-4 in the rest of your games. Remember that.
Yeah.
248-539-9797. We'll get to the people. We'll get some ticket texts. Guys, don't make me do it. Don't make me tell Kenny to list his favorite burrito toppings. We're talking football. Get your life together.